Hey, what's up you guys? I know it's been a while since I filmed a personal finance video. I last filmed one back in February and I just haven't done a professional let's sit down and chat kind of video. But since we're quarantined and in the middle of a pandemic, I figured it would be useful to give you guys some tips on how to survive a recession. This is really my first recession as an adult. I know it hasn't been declared or confirmed as a recession in the media, but just the way things are progressing, I will pretty much say that we are in the middle of a recession. Businesses are shutting down, people are losing their jobs, people filing for unemployment insurance. We are in the middle of a recession. Now, I know I haven't, lived through a recession as an adult, and I may not be privy to the struggles that people had in the last recession, but I am good at taking preventative measures to ensure that I'm safe and I'm good for anything that could happen that could disrupt my life. And something that is very disruptive to everyone's lives is a recession, and they're always gonna happen, you just don't know when. And I think it's very important to always be prepared for a situation in which you might lose your job, you might not be able to pay your bill. I think it's very important to kind of have a futuristic outlook towards life. Just always plan for the future. That's something that could save you a lot of stress and heartache, is if you just plan for the future. The first tip I'll talk about is just being proactive and saving in advance. So for those of you that are fortunate enough to work from home, to still be employed and not really worry about your job security, something that you can start doing if you haven't done so already is to start saving. Everyone should have an emergency fund. I read an article that most Americans don't even have $400 in emergency savings. And if you've been in an emergency situation, $400 is nothing. I have healthcare coverage, had an emergency situation last year, $900 I had to shell out, and they were sending bills over certain periods of time, but it was something that if I didn't have the savings for, I would be freaking out. Even if you're putting $20 a month, $50 a month, whatever number you want, you should have a cash reserve in case an emergency happens. People advise 3 to 6 months of expenses. People save 6 to 9 months of expenses, but you should be able to cover your expenditures in the event that you lose your job or your car breaks down or you need to pay for something that's very expensive and it's an emergency. I think what happens to a lot of people, unfortunately, during recessions is, some people don't have savings. Some people don't have that cash reserve to fall back on. So this puts them in more debt. And if you are thinking about the future and planning for the future, financially planning for emergencies is something that you need to do to ensure that you're not shocked or as panicked when these things actually happen to you. If you lose your job, you're gonna be upset, you're gonna go through a lot of emotions, but if you have money to fall back on and you can survive for months at a time, it'll feel way better to know that you have that. One thing that my mom always taught me is that you should always be planning for the future. You should think of every possible scenario that could happen and how you can actively prepare to make the impact of it less harmful. So in the case of a recession, that they happen pretty much every 10 years. They tend to be cyclical. So if one's gonna be coming in a decade from now, you should be preparing in the event that you do lose your job or someone gets sick, that you have the money to cover those expenses in the future. And you don't know what the expense will be, but just having a couple $1,000s in the bank that you've left to compound in interest, it'll feel way better. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the stock market. Everybody is either excited about the stock market or very pessimistic about the stock market. Stocks are on sale right now. If you look at the news, the media. Every day you'll get an analysis about how the Dow Jones fell X amount of points, 30%, the lowest of the low since 2008. That basically means stocks are on sale. It isn't a bad thing if you have a long time horizon on investing. So if you don't plan on using your money in the next 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, this isn't something that should affect you. This is just investors reacting to what's going on in the world, people being very nervous about the pandemic and selling their stocks right now, which doesn't make sense because they're not making any money from it. But you finding this opportunity, you should be able to put some money in the stock market. But I will say that don't use your emergency fund to invest in the stock market. Like, I know people are excited about it and they're like, oh, I have cash in the bank, let me just like put it in the stock market. Don't do that. Any money that you'll need in the short term, in the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years from now, I don't think you should go ahead and invest it. And also, if you do have extra cash laying around but you have debt, you should prioritize paying off the debt. It just makes more sense. Just pay off the debt. Like, stop paying interest on all of this debt that you have, pay off the debt, and then focus on investing once you finish paying off debt. But I know everyone's excited about the stock market. You should be. Good buying opportunity. We were in a bull market for such a long time. All the stocks were so expensive, but now I think people should be able to afford to, buy some stocks here and there. I personally don't buy individual securities. I buy index funds, but whatever you want, now's a good buying opportunity. I've read some misinformation about like, it's a bad time to invest in the stock market. Don't listen to those people. Go ahead and invest. It's only gonna go up from now, but it will be a long time until we recover from this pandemic and this recession. My third tip is to be more frugal. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are in the middle of a recession. Restaurants are not operating. You cannot really live your life the way you were living it 4 months before. You're not going on vacation. You're not eating out. You're not getting married. Life has to be dealt with and lived very differently right now and for the next few months. However long this is going on, your life is going to be different. And one tip that is kind of catastrophic for businesses during recessions is that people hold on to their money more, but it makes sense. You should hold on to your money. I do understand that people feel like they have job security, but I just want to say that no company owes you loyalty. They can cost cut however way they want to, and if that means getting rid of you, they will. Like, that's just a means of running a business. So I don't ever feel like anyone should be too comfortable with their current job situation. You should always be assumed that at any point you could be let go for whatever reason. And so I think everyone should be kind of hoarding their money a little bit more. Anything that is churning money out of your bank account, like, just don't do it. Hold on to that cash because you never know when you'll need it, and you'll never know when your employer will get rid of you, because they will if they need to. And lastly, I just wanted to say that hopefully everyone is staying positive. I know that these are very hard and unprecedented times, and like, no one really saw it coming, and the rapid rate at which it progressed, I don't think anyone really had time to adjust to this. We were all just kind of thrown into the mix and into dealing with this, but just know that times like these do end. But hopefully you are staying safe and you are staying quarantined, and really leaning on family and friends for support. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next week with another video.